I want to set you up a little bit because you deserve that.
Okay.
13 seasons in the NBA.
Yeah.
4 All-Star appearances.
Yeah.
2 championships. Yep. And this is the best part. Now, Hall of Fame inductee.
Yeah.
Bob Dandridge, Hall of Famer. How does that sound?
I mean, even after a month, it's sort of, each day it sinks in a little bit more and more. And I got a good friend of mine, Bruce Smith, former NFL sack leader, text me, when it was announced. And then about a week later, he called me and gave me instructions on that there's a certain swagger that go with
Hall of Famer? What is that?
I don't think, I've always had it, so it is nothing new because, from coming here to Milwaukee, some work that I've done with the Wizards, oddly enough, I always found myself in pictures with guys who were officially in the Hall of Fame. And at no time did I feel that I had made lesser of a contribution to the game. So, I never felt less than, and I think I've always carried myself in a certain manner that, it's just a matter of patience. And, things happen in God's time. And I know for me personally, when I get my hands in it and get to trying to politic, and it never works out. So I got real comfortable with doing other things in the NBA that would be significant contributions. And with that, my only hope was that I would be alive to accept the reward and to the honor, I would say, and I got my fingers crossed for the next 4 months that I can walk up there with a healthy stride.
You will walk up there, yes.
With a healthy stride and be able to accept this honor.
I want to hear about the phone call, because that's how you were notified. You look at your phone, who is it, and how'd that conversation go?
It was a number that I didn't recognize, but then it said Springfield, Mass. under the number. And then I saw Wayne Embry's number down there. And I'm saying, well, could this be the call? And I paused for about 5 minutes, and then I called the number, the Springfield number, and it was John DeLeva. And he said, Bobby, this is John. I got Wayne Embry on the other line. And are you sitting down? I said, no, I'm standing up. And I'm going to keep standing up. And he said, congratulations, you're about to be inducted into the Naismith Hall of Fame. And he said, you cannot tell anybody other than maybe your close family, he said, because we want to be the first to make the announcement. And I still had about 8 days before they were going to make the announcement. And the first person I thought about was my wife. For a couple of days, I didn't tell her right away. I sort of just let it absorb simply because I didn't want this not to be true. I had to let it sink in. And finally, on the 4th day that when I had found out, I told her. And, you know, of course, she was elated. And then I had to tell my 2 daughters and my son. The son and his family in Austin, they were pretty cool, but they were trying to figure out, well, how are we going to explain this Hall of Fame honor to a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old? And so they sort of held that back from them, but my two daughters were concerned about their outfits. So once they found out, oh, what?
Naturally, yeah.
But the call was, and I'm still it's still sinking in.
Yeah.
Because it's indeed an honor, one that, I've wanted, but the interesting thing about it is that throughout my basketball history, I remember as a young kid, all I wanted to do was play basketball as a youngster because it was a passion. Maybe in about the 10th grade, I found out, oh, you can get a scholarship for doing this. Then I go to college, play a couple of years, play against a couple of guys on the playgrounds of Washington, D.C., who had gone to Notre Dame and the major schools, and I played well against them. And then I said, oh, you might be able to play in the NBA. And so once I got to the NBA, and it took me about 5 years to realize that everybody that had played in the NBA had not necessarily won an NBA championship. Because I thought if you played...
You won so early.
Yeah, I won so early. And if you played long enough, that you would eventually win one. And I never really thought about the Hall of Fame till about 7 or 8 years out. And I'm realizing that these guys are going into what's called the Hall of Fame. And I said, well, how come they haven't called me? My game was as good as theirs. And so, sometime I would think about it, sometime I didn't. Sometimes I would get disappointed about not being selected, but then over about the last 20 years, I've settled in and realized that, this thing is in God's hand. Things happen when He wants it to happen. And that over the last 20, 25 years, it's given me a chance to work on myself, to be a better parent, to be a better friend to people, to just enjoy my life, to make some contributions to this game that didn't necessarily mean statistics and stuff. So, for about the last 20 or 25 years, sort of working my way back into the NBA in a positive manner, being able to come back and be able to do community things with the Bucks, getting to know like Senator Cole at that time. So it was a process of just, getting better with me. Like I said, the last 20 or 25 years have really been a great experience for me, finding out that patience is a spiritual principle. And through patience, I've been able to do a lot of positive things.
Based on what you're saying and being able to work on yourself personally and even professionally and make your way back to basketball, is there something special about the timing now?
It's special because my kids who are adults now understand the significance of this. And my friends who have supported me all across the country in different venues, they travel this road with me because they have been, hey, when is this thing gonna happen? What they waiting on? So I think for a lot of people, this has been a great journey because everybody has grown and developed in some form or fashion. So, it's just great. Oftentimes as athletes, our accomplishments come so early and effortless. And I'm just glad that that my kids, my family members, everybody is at a point that they understand the true significance of what's going on. And even now, people are telling me the significance of this honor.
You brought up your family, and I read this really interesting story about how your dad took you. But I have a different question about it. So your dad, the story is, if people aren't familiar, your dad took you to his job to show you if you don't take your education seriously, you're going to do the same thing.
Yes.
My question is, how much did you apply that lesson to your life?
It encouraged me to go for my passion. It let me see the type of hard work that he did and the sacrifices that black men during that era and even in this day would want to make sacrifices for our families so that we can make it better for the next generation. When I left the NBA, I said, I'll never work 2 jobs. And when I reflected back, my father always had 2 jobs. He worked the railroad, and then he wallpapered and painted. So this meant he probably slept no more than about 6 hours a day. And that within itself lets me know that every day I don't need 7 or 8 hours, depending on what's at task to do. I know that I'm more spiritually fit. It's a different person accepting the honor in 2001 than it would have been in 2000. And so the timing is perfect, not only for me, but also for my family. A whole lot of people are on this journey with me, and millions of fans around the world who I've never met and probably never will meet have gone on this journey.
I am happy and excited for you that you get to experience it in this way. I now want to ask you to reflect, so we're going back some time to your playing days. How would you describe your brand of basketball? So many people analyze your game, but I feel like nobody tells it better than you.
Yes, nobody can tell. and the thing that I played with 4 guys who are in the top 50. But at no time did I feel that my game was inferior to theirs. Because coming here to Milwaukee, one big thing that Larry Costello liked about me was that I was the only guy that knew how to feed the ball inside to Kareem properly. When to throw the bounce pass, I knew whichever hand he held the highest, that was the hand that he wanted the ball to come to. Playing with the Big O, I had enough basketball IQ to be able to take directions from him, to be coachable. I think that was, I know that was a big asset, but I think my game, I'm not the scorer that Kawhi Leonard and Chris Middleton are, but both of these guys play a good all-around game. Defense, they can shoot the mid-range shot, they can pass, they know when to sort of let their game not be the prime offense at that particular time to allow other people to surface. I think guys like this, I think my game is closest to that. We can be...
Well, their game is closest to yours.
Their game is closest to mine because I came before them. I think Jamal Wilkes, I've often heard James Worthy compliment that my game. I think about Bernard King. So there was a whole generation of people that came in the late 70s and the 80s who as youngsters, I was the one that they looked forward to. Because I had my idol was a guy, Satch Sanders. There was another guy, Bob Pettit. These were the guys that I idolized. So I just had a good all-around game. I could blend in with superstars, but then their being able to surface was based on me willing to take a back seat. I played the 2 guard defensively, so I played the power forward for 1 year here in Milwaukee. And the big thing was that my game was flexible enough that I think that anybody that played with me enjoyed playing with me because I was an unselfish guy. And I knew that I didn't have to average 25 or 30 to be an intricate part of a team.
Now I want you to think back specifically to your teammates from 1971. So, and I have specific questions. Basically, you're just going to answer it with somebody's name.
Okay.
Who on that team was like the comedian? The funniest person on that championship team?
Probably me.
Really?
Yeah.
You like the jokester?
Yeah.
I sense it a little bit.
Yeah.
Who was the most vocal?
Larry Costello, the coach.
Naturally. And I heard he would get up in you all.
Oh, I mean, it was, he would get frustrated with us because we were a young group of guys, just 2-3 years out of college. And we didn't realize the significance of the arena or the significance of what we were doing. You know, we were still thinking fun. We never thought business. We just thought fun.
Who was the person on that team when they spoke, everybody listened?
The Big O.
Figured.
Big O.
And he wasn't always talking a lot, but when he talked, is that when you listened? What was
Yeah. Well, he really constantly talked because he was telling us where to go and where not to go. And sometimes it would be, look, y'all just get out of the way. I got this covered. And we knew to just spread the floor wide. And we knew that if he penetrated, it wasn't like today's game. He was going to kick it out. Once he started penetrating, that meant he was going to shoot the layup or he was going to shoot the hesitation jump shot, but it wasn't coming out out of his hands until it headed towards the basket.
At least you knew.
Oh, yeah, we knew.
You knew.
And took pride in knowing, because at that time we were young. I mean, we didn't want to take the pressure.
Right. Well, he was like the one veteran at that time on that team.
He was the man.
Who was in the gym all the time?
Greg Smith was the starting forward opposite me. I mean, Greg was about 6'5", about 210 pounds. Was not a good shooter, but was a great defensive player. And so he would normally come to shooting early. And, you know, when you came to shoot early, you didn't have a shooting coach. You know, you didn't have anybody. So this meant if you miss a shot, you had to run it down.
So it was shooting and conditioning at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, so you talked about this swagger that you're going to need when you go to your ceremony. Who was the most stylish, fashionable person that maybe you could get some tips from?
John McLaughlin was the best dresser.
Johnny Mac.
You know, I think Pam picked out his clothes. His wife, Pam, picked out his clothes, but as we called him, Moose, hair was always in place, never a strand of hair out, always was fashionably color coordinated, you know, just a neat guy. So nobody else tried to live up to that standard. Nobody else wanted to.
You just knew that was what he did.
The guy.
So obviously the ceremony, but any other ways you feel like you might celebrate?
If somebody could give me a complimentary round of golf at an exquisite
Okay.
golf facility. I think just at the hall, just being with friends and family and reminiscing, and people are already calling me, yeah, remember when you did this back in the day. And so I know that what I look forward to is just seeing friends and family and laughing and joking and talking about way back when. But it's just the fellowshipping of, the culmination of, a lot of hard work. A guy coming out of Richmond, Virginia, tall, skinny kid, going through a period of segregated schools where the black high schools just played the black high schools, going to a historically black university, which set the foundation for me, not only for basketball, but how I wanted to carry myself. How do I want to be seen off the basketball court? Just so many standards were set in that atmosphere of going to segregated high school, going to the HBCU college, coming here to Milwaukee, which was just a cultural shock, because coming here to Milwaukee was the first time I had ever had a non-African American coach. And that was a shock to me. I had never been to a bar in my life until I came to Milwaukee.
There's a lot of them here.
Yeah, it's a lot of them here, but Milwaukee has been, was, and still is just a very special place for me. And I came here a couple of years ago to play golf with a friend of mine. And for 5 days that we golfed and ate at the restaurants and hung out on the lake, he asked me the question, why did you ever leave here? He said, the people absolutely adore you here. And that's why 40, 50 years later, I still love coming to Milwaukee.
Well, we appreciate the time. And last thing, so yesterday we were joking and I said, we're both from Virginia.
Yeah.
And you said, how did somebody from Virginia end up in the Midwest? And then I asked it right back to you. I said, well, how in the world did you end up in the Midwest? You said, I was drafted. Has Milwaukee turned out better than you maybe expected when you saw that you would be headed here? And did you ever envision it would be so special to you?
I mean, first of all, it was going into his second year of being a team. Yeah. I mean, all I knew was I was drafted in the NBA.
Didn't matter.
It didn't matter. It could have been Alaska. It could have been New Mexico. Not that these are bad places, but all I knew was I had an opportunity for a dream to come true. And I can remember when I came to rookie camp. Rookie camp was about 3.5 days, and I got here late. I got to the first practice late, and Coach Costello hopped on me about being late. So the trainer said, well, Larry, he didn't fly the plane here. He was just a passenger. And then after I'd worked out for about 3 days, everybody had to come in the next morning and they would post the list of people to return. And so I'm nervous, and so I go downstairs after the final practice, and I'm wondering whether or not they've kept me, because I knew that I had played well, and right beside my locker was this huge bag. And so the trainer was laughing, and he said, that bag is for you. I said, well, what's in it? He said, look in it. Well, they had a couple of pair of new tennis shoes, some practice stuff, and an NBA basketball. And he said, look, you coming back. And, that just was so emotional before me. And I was so happy to have made it through rookie camp, especially a guy drafted in the 4th round. So,
from Virginia to the pros to the Hall of Fame. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time, and go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.